Welcome to CivilNet. My guest today is Ambassador Rainer Morel, who represents Germany in Armenia. And this is part of a series that we're calling Ambassadors of Goodwill. Ambassador, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Ms. Salpi, for having me.
Oh, and thank you for joining us in the middle of football season.
Yes.
I asked you if you're a football fanatic, and you said...
I started to be a football fan when I met my wife. Before, I was just a kicker, just kicking the ball. But nowadays, I'm watching these games seriously.
And Germany's doing not badly at all. Surprise, surprise.
We are doing fine. We are doing fine. Yeah. We'll see. Tonight is a decisive game. Now each game is decisive because it's KO system. But as much as I like the French, and the French ambassador is a good friend of mine, but if it comes to a soccer game, you have to win.
This is it. This is important.
Yes.
You know, I wasn't going to go down the France route, but since you said it, let me do it. You know, in Armenia, the ancient history is often evoked as an example of how people can get past ancient history and make new history. And of course, Germany, France are the standard examples of, look, you know, 60 years ago where they were and where they are today. Do you really think that's a lesson that we can learn from, or do you think that the conditions, the circumstances are so different that it's really not our lesson?
I think everybody can learn that lesson. We learned it the hard way, the very hard way, and it took not only a lot of time, it took a lot of wars and a lot of dead persons, but in the end, we understood and we learned. And that means the population learned it and the politicians learned it. So politicians without the population, it doesn't fly. The other way around, neither. So I think both have to be ready. The politicians, the leaders of the people, and the population itself. And so it was, in a way, a lucky moment that we were there after World War II. But I think it is something which everybody can take as a perception, so they don't have to live it that hard way.
It's easy to respond to what you said by saying that, you know what, it was going to happen because the relationship at the end of the war was so uneven. There were clear victors, clear losers.
Yes.
And without that, it would not have happened. On the other hand, did it need to happen as deeply as it has happened?
See, yes, in the end, if you said it was uneven, but I think in the end we all lost. We all lost the war, especially the last, but as well, First World War was already a sign on the wall with heavy losses and everything, but still it seems it was not enough, so we had a second round. But I think everybody, especially the population, understood enough is enough. Even they were the winners, they were the losers. So this was the decisive point, I think. It's a different mindset.
And that mindset was deep enough that the transformation has been amazingly deep. We had 2 flags here before we started.
Yeah.
And I said, Ambassador, should we bring the European Union flag? And you said, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because this integration has been amazingly deep.
Yeah, amazingly deep and hopefully, but as far as I see and my conviction, sustainable. This is the point. If you look at the European Union today, it's mighty, it's powerful, but it's not a military force. And I think this is why it's loved by everybody. We don't need to shoot around. There are other values you have, and if you really look at Ukraine, we are fighting with words to get this crisis out of this world. And maybe we see some light at the end of the tunnel, but it's just with words. We were smart enough and clear enough to say, no boots on the ground.
I'm tempted to say that you, the individual, Ambassador Morel, are the optimist, but it seems to me that, you know, if we're calling this series the Ambassadors of Goodwill, that your whole country is driven by this interesting mix of goodwill and self-interest, huh? I mean, look at, you know, everything that you invested in Russia after the fall of the Soviet Union, everything that you're doing now in Greece and some of these other failing economies. Is it Is there this endless source of goodwill?
There is a source of goodwill. Whether it's endless, I don't know. Sometimes you hear people in Germany saying, oh, come on, another million or another billion for this and that. Is that really necessary? The others, they should make their efforts as well. But in the end, I wouldn't say it pays. That would be too materialistic. But in the end, you need to live in a secured world of friends. And this is what we tend to try with Russia as well. We offered them a partnership of modernization because we said they need it. So we can give them something. Let's do it together, because the world is getting much closer, and with good relationship, you can work on other things than buying weapons, which is silly, stupid, spent money. So we try to understand that if others have problems, we have to work it out. And as you mentioned, Greece and the Euro crisis, the so-called Euro crisis, I think it was not so much a Euro crisis, but we talked about it. Seems to be a crisis. In the end, as we see, there was enough goodwill, enough money, enough politics to turn around. And we see that only if we all together do the job, then we are successful. And we as Germans, I think for us, the European Union is a big asset. We have, let's say, 3 big issues in German politics ever since. This is the German-French friendship, amitié franco-allemande. This is one of our 3 pillars. The other is the transatlantic, and the third is European Union. Because, as you know, we are a relatively big country in the center of Europe. A lot of population, a strong economy, and if you go your own ways, then you might fail again. So I think it's necessary that you, on a daily basis, you check your politics. And this is done in Brussels. A lot of German guys meeting there every day in different gremia. And I know that a lot of Germans say, oh gosh, they talk. The
talk shop.
But it's necessary, because you have your ideas, others have their ideas, and in the end you go your way. It's not the best, but it is the best. It's maybe not your way, but it's the best way you can reach. If you don't do that, then you go that way after 10 years, and they go that way after 10 years, and you have a big trench in between. And this is the best Europe can give us, all of us, not only Germany, but to all of these countries. I think this is, if we go on this way, then it's really sustainable.
You lived that on your skin, and we're still trying to learn that in theory. The 3 pillars that you mentioned, Armenia doesn't fall under any of them, and yet from the very first days of independence, Germany has been here with a full embassy, with assistance programs, exchange programs. Why is Germany here? It's not even that our diaspora there is very strong either, as in other countries. Why is Germany in Armenia?
I think we are interested in all countries of the world. I mean, you can't cover all of them, but we have a lot of embassies, and of course here, because you have to understand the world, and you can't understand it by just watching TV or by just reading something. Yes, it's a beginning, but in the end, it's the work on the ground, which is done by an embassy and by an ambassador or by the staff, to understand these people, to understand their politics, and to translate it to back home. Without that, yeah, you can do without, but you can do better if you have an embassy here. I think this is it, and I can tell you this is a very interesting country, Armenia, and so it's not at all boring, and I think there are other countries where you would say, oh, why we do have an embassy here? This is not one of these, absolutely.
I know you're still here for a while, and we're glad you are, but when you leave, what will you miss?
Oh, I will miss, first of all, the sunshine.
Yes.
This is something I'm dreaming about, you know. Sometimes maybe it's too much, but it's constantly. And in Germany, there are good days as well, but they are less rainy than others.
Yes, yeah, that's the good.
Here it's the weather, and it's the population. These are easygoing people with a lot of cultural background, with a lot of education, You can stop any guy on the road and ask him a question. He knows about something to answer. Do that somewhere else. I wouldn't cite any country, but do it somewhere else. You wouldn't get an answer so easily. So yeah, they're educated. They are so much similar to us. You are relatively far away from, let's say, the European center as it is at the moment. But you're absolutely. You have. I think I always think you have a European vocation, which is there. You have other things as well, which are turning you versus with the Russian. This is the Russian language, the Russian music, which you have as well influenced with the Khachaturian, all these things. But it's a mix, and you can't just cut it. It's that mix which is, you feel it here. And biggest asset is my wife likes it here, so I like it here.
We're very happy that you're here. We're happy that you're both here in Armenia, and we're thankful that you came here to CivilNet today.
Thank you, Ms. Salpi. I think CivilNet is a big player in this country, which is necessary for civil society to give it a boost. And I'm here now 2 years, and I see that civil society is developing. Even in these 2 years, I feel that, and for that it needs agents. You to say in English, agents.
Perfect word.
Somebody who does the work, who intervenes, and so on and so forth. So I wish you the best of luck for CivilNet.
Thank you, and thank you for your continuing support. We've been speaking with Ambassador Rainer Morell of Germany as part of the series that we call Ambassadors of Goodwill. Thank you for following us on CivilNet.